Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Dare to Age Well Now. I'm very excited to have I say fellow Canadian because after being married to a Canadian for 30 years, I say that Canada is my country in law. So I'm so excited to have Marilena Savino with us, all the way from the Toronto area. For those of us in the United States, if you're from Canada, then you might know of Hamilton, Ontario. Welcome, Marilena. And why don't you
You.
tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been a physiotherapist for almost 26 years, and I have just been doing a lot of work around rehabilitating patients and their care. And as we spoke prior to this, you get into a point where you're treating patients, and there's a lot of, discussions that happen in a room that are just beyond the actual physical care. It's a lot of mental, emotional, and physical intertwined. So I'm noticing that, since just before COVID, probably about 3 years prior to COVID, and more escalating now is how like the mental, emotional, and psychological are intertwined with the physical. And a lot of times I'm dealing with a physical manifestation of pain. And so that becomes really hard. And I always say your life is a reflection of what you think. If you feel you can't do it, you won't. And so I try to instill this in some of my patients. And as I was saying to you before, I thought, if I ever wrote a book, it's going to be titled, What Are You Waiting For? Because I find a lot of patients come in and they know what to do. They've been told, they've gone to many practitioners, and they're not doing it. And this is something that I'm really struggling with too myself. It's like, why? Why are they not doing it? They know they've been encouraged by many practitioners, they've seen doctors, and yet they're still sitting in that little mentality, well, I know I need to do this, but I'm not doing this. And so, that becomes a problem. That becomes sort of a pattern. And a lot of the times it really is you. You have to change that pattern. No one can change it for you. You have to make that decision for you. And I'm a believer. I believe in God. And I feel like as we age, the gray hair is like a crown of glory. And as we age gracefully, we need to know, like, what do I need to do to age gracefully? What do I need to do to win the race, to continue to do the things that God's called me to? Or it could, even if you're not a believer, it could just be like, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
And sometimes purpose is intertwined with how you see yourself. If you don't see yourself well, you're not going to be well. But I find sometimes our body is trailing behind our thoughts. If our thoughts are saying, well, I'm never going to get that goal because I'm never going to feel that way, you won't. And so it's really hard. It's, as a practitioner, I can only do so much, and we're limited to how we could physically, we can help the patients. But in Canada, we cannot comment on the mental, psychosocial things that are happening, but we know they're there.
Yeah. I love this. And when we were chatting before, I was like, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's unpack. We don't actually have the answers. And as you laid out the problem the second time, I actually think I know at least one potential reason why. And it's not the only one. And for some of you, it may not resonate. And I'm fascinated when I tell you this answer and then the name of this podcast. Ah, the irony, it comes all full circle. But I actually, my husband was struggling with, I know what I need to do. I don't know why I don't do it. He says those words to me. And I said, the reason why you won't do it is you have not set a vision of where you are going
Good.
and what you want to become, which I talk about in both of my books, Traveling Light and Be Freaking Awesome. The reason why I pursue health so hard, I go so hard against health, is I have literally, as I walk my grandchildren down the stairs, they have a little bedroom in the basement, and I walk a little 2 year old and I'm holding, and I say to myself, I want to be able to walk their children down to the basement. So I have to be strong enough. I have to pay attention to my health because I want when their kids come over to my house, I'm still able to walk them 20, 25 years from now. And I would love to hear your feedback. But I think as humans, we are like, we get into this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do. And so much of our society says, oh, well, there's something, I feel pain, I should go to the doctor. I
Right.
should take a medicine.
Right.
I should take whatever. And I don't know that society has caught up with, I should unpack my emotional trauma.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Okay, so for those of you that are in the United States, a physiotherapist, let me do a little translation for you. In America, we would call it a physical therapist, but in Canada, it's a physiotherapist. That's probably actually more accurate term, I would think. But so typically people come to you when they are in a rehab situation.
We deal with, people coming in, they need rehabilitation. They, come in with pain a lot of what we're seeing. I'm not sure how it is in the States, but in Canada, we're seeing a lot of people with chronic pain. And chronic
Yes.
pain is huge because it comes with a variety of issues. Pain is real. I recently just had a patient and she came in and I just had this feeling it was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of things that went on in her past that are manifesting into this like physical realm of pain. And I said to her, and I repeated in there, and I said, I believe you. So I believe you're in pain, but a lot of us are stuck in the manifestation of pain is our identity. And God took me through this myself because I was recently injured, like just prior to 2020. I was injured in my back. And I was prior to that, Hamilton, I was on a rowing team and, I did a lot of physical exercise. I was pushing the limits and I was doing all kinds of things. And then it came to a complete halt because at that point I couldn't do what I loved to do. And so over the 3 years after that, I just kept getting into this state of, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do this. And then my mind and my body started to feel that became my identity. And I feel like some people come in and that becomes their identity. They walk in and it's like, this is me. And
Wow.
it's really hard as a physiotherapist to take them out of that cycle of pain. And until they realize, hey, this is not me. When you talk about vision, they could have that vision, but if they're stuck in that cycle of pain of, I'm never going to amount to anything, I'm never going to be healthy, I'm never going to be able to walk properly, it's hard. And for me, because I walk with God, He showed me, hey, this is not your identity. And so that was sort of a revelation for me when I started to realize, wow, I am literally becoming my patients. I'm becoming that person who walks in the door, who's so stuck in their pain, who's so stuck in the, I'll never amount to anything. And He showed me how I was doing that. And so I slowly started to come out of that thought process. And it's obviously not easy. It's not easy. It's hard to say, hey, snap out of it. You know what you should be doing, but it's a journey that is within, a journey for them. And it's a timing thing too. Sometimes people come to a point where they're like, okay, I've had it. I can't
Yes.
live like this anymore.
Yes.
What do I need to do?
Yeah.
So
I love that. I have two questions. One is, did that help to build your empathy for your clients? And do you feel that as a physiotherapist, you are even more effective now that you've been able to, like, I understand how you feel?
absolutely 100%. 100%. I feel being in an industry where we're healing people, if you don't know what it feels like, it's hard to understand them. We all deal with psychological things. We all deal with, we don't always have the right words that we're saying over us. Words have power. And so sometimes it's so easy to say, I understand when you really don't. And sometimes if I don't understand, I'll say to them, I don't understand what you're going through, but I believe you. I think it's really important that patients hear that because they have the confidence in who you are. And sometimes I'll say to my younger physios, go in with confidence, walk with that confidence, knowing that you understand what they're trying to say to you, but you may not understand how they feel. And it's a really important thing because I think that patient practitioner relationship is very important. I think it's really crucial for their healing.
I agree. And then you mentioned that coming out of that mindset was very difficult. And so, what are some of the practical tips that you can give somebody if they feel like they're kind of stuck in that, like, my pain has become my identity? Like, what are some things that really helped you in that difficult process?
So as I said, I went from basically training hard 7 days a week to zero. Walking on the treadmill was what I was doing to help with my pain. So I decided I was still going to be committed. I was going to be committed to my care. And because I'm such a consistent person, consistency is important. So I always say to patients, hey, you can't do 15 minutes. How about you get up and you walk around the block, do 5 minutes, but you need to be consistent and you need to commit to yourself because no one else can do it. So I was really committed to myself. I knew that I can use my consistency from all the years of training to, hey, this is what it looks like right now, but this is not going to define me. I am not going to end up here. And I know that it's a process. I know that I need to go through the steps and the stages of, maybe I'm not going to be training in a boat, but I'm going to be walking and I'm going to do the little things. I seeked out help by practitioners and I got some advice. And I actually saw a prominent back specialist in this area, Dr. Stuart McGill. I'm going to put his name out there because I think he's wonderful. And he saw me. And when I went to see him, he put me through this array of testing. And I thought I was actually going to be sore. I was like, I'm not going to walk out of this because it was like a 2-hour assessment. And he said to me, he says, I'm playing with you. You're actually stronger than you think you are. And I thought, wow. I go, that was such a revelation for me. We are stronger than we think we are.
Yes.
We are stronger than we think we are. And I think sometimes we need to make that one step. And I can't do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. You have to honor your life. You have to really want to succeed in your own health for you and no one else. No one else but you. And I think when you make it personal, that now you can see that vision. I don't want to be stuck in this. And it's hard because there's a lot of people with some psychological issues and trauma, as you said before, Angela. So I think they do need some help from other practitioners to help them. But like I said, because I'm a believer, God is my rock. He's the one that I follow. And I've been so grateful to have him behind me to help me understand my journey. So I would say, number one, take the little steps. Number two, be consistent. And number three, be committed to your own health.
Love that. As you were telling the story of at least start with walking around the block, I had a friend that had fallen. It was a number of years after his 90th birthday. He'd fallen, broken his hip, and I was visiting him, and he's like, I'm going to get to where I can walk to that mailbox. And the way I do that is every 30 minutes I stand. And I stand for 30 seconds, then I have to sit down. And I can now stand for 90 seconds. But when I first started, I could only stand for 30 seconds. And so the whole day that I sat with him, about every hour, he was
love that.
It's top of the hour. He was like, top of the hour, I got to do my stands. And he was like, I am determined. I'm going to get to where I walk back out to that mailbox. And so even if it's not, and hopefully, if you're listening to something like Dare to Age Well Now, you probably can walk around the block. I did little things also like parking farther out when I go to the grocery store. Like I don't have to have the closest parking place.
Right.
I like, okay, I'm going to get a few extra steps in here. Like everywhere that I could go and get that. I love your consistency. And I also tried to wiggle in some things just in my day-to-day routine as I was going through that.
I love that example. I love that example. It's great.
Yeah, because you can start wherever. I was talking with someone about doing the grip strength, and it's like if you can only hold yourself in a dead man's hang, they were like, if you can only start for 15 seconds, start for 15 seconds, and then 30 seconds, and then a minute, and then apparently 2 minutes of being able to hold your own body weight is like life transforming. And I'm like, 2 minutes? So anyway, I'm on this journey of figuring out what are these small ways that we can do. And I think sometimes when people hear get active or exercise or those things, they think it means go run a marathon.
Exactly.
And it doesn't. It's consistency, like you're saying.
Right. And I think I just wanted to add one thing with my journey with that is your example of this gentleman was like, he saw it before he actually felt it. So he saw that if I do this, I'm actually going to go there. And the same with me. I felt like I was like this athlete, like going crazy, working out to the point of not working out. I had to really come to grips of, Marilena, now we need to focus on healthy living. Now we need to focus on what is good for Marilena at this point in her life. Is it to be so dwelled up on all of the crazy working out, or is it just like, let me do something that my body needs right now? Honoring your body is very important. So do what your body needs right at this point in time, and then have that vision where you can see yourself doing this and then start to make those steps to get towards it. So I love that example by that older gentleman. That's great.
It kind of brought us all the way back full circle. His goal, his vision was walk into the mailbox.
I love it.
And you know, there's probably some of us that are in our 40s and 50s that think walk into the mailbox, that's not that big of a deal. And I think what I want to illustrate is whether it is for me being able to be there for my great grandkids, or if it's simply walking to the mailbox, whatever that vision is, it's really about what your definition of success is. It doesn't matter what my definition is. It doesn't matter what yours is. It really matters to define that for yourself. People want to find you, Marilena. Can you tell us where they can find you online?
Well, I'm in Hamilton, Ontario. My business is Restorative Touch Physiotherapy, and we are in East Mountain, and we're a small business, and we love to help people. And I've got a great staff, and I'm very fortunate to have a great staff, and we just love helping people achieve their goals, and we try our best. Yeah.
We'll put the link to your website in the show notes.
Thank you.
And until next time, everyone, I hope that you dare to age well now.